Hello, everybody. This is Joey Piscopo, Joseph Powell, Joey Rich. Few nicknames you'll learn about me as we travel this long, hard path of life we're about to endure. I'm sitting here at my desk, half cup full, not empty, of water, lemon water, few papers, a couple pairs of headphones from testing my new podcast equipment and preparing for my first interview tomorrow. I got a few guests lined up that I'm very excited to speak with, and just want to make sure everything goes right. And of course, the harder I try, the more things fall apart. And as I sit here, it's kind of funny. I have the video on. I'm going to be sharing this podcast on YouTube as well. So I'm just making sure the recording is working, but I'm just staring at myself, here, talking in a microphone, which is, how much more do I need of myself? But I don't know if I'll show the video on YouTube. We'll have a see. But anywho, as I sit here and I prepare to meet with my first guest tomorrow for the episode 1 of The Chosen Ones, I thought I should probably kick it with the homies here and just do a little one-on-one action and just chat with everyone, get to know each other a little bit, and maybe take an opportunity here to let you know what you're in for. For the early listeners, for those of you here from day one, I just want to give you a shout out. It's always interesting to have those people early on in the journey. This is going to turn into something big. We're building it right. We're doing it right. We got incredible guests. As long as you can put up with me, then we're going to do fine. So we'll see how it goes anyways. But yeah, I just thought I want to take a minute here, introduce myself. I want to tell you a little bit about what the podcast is about, have a quick one-on-one, and then tomorrow we are off to the races, and we got interviews lined up all week. So it's going to be a busy week. Learning quickly. My whole podcast experience is new. There's a lot of things that you don't think about on any new venture: podcast artwork, theme music, a name, a concept, finding guests, how you speak to guests. It goes on and on. You have this idea, and I'm of the opinion of, I like kind of walking into things blind, because if I know too much ahead of time about how hard some things really are, then, you may never get started. So I kind of appreciate that approach of just barreling through and knocking things off and get them to 80% and call it good. So now this podcast is going to be 110%. Don't worry about that. But on that note, with these funny little jokes, I guess the first thing I should say is just what you can expect of me as a human being. I'm very sarcastic. So anytime you ever hear about something like that, or what I may say, just know that if you're not watching the video, it is said with a big grin on my face. And something else that's very important to me is authenticity. And that's been a priority I've talked to my producer about since the start, in terms of how we roll these things out. Is it's really important to me that people get to know who I am, and for my friends who may listen to this, to know that I'm not someone different when I get on this microphone. It's just like you're sitting in the living room with me as a friend. And authenticity is very important in my life. It's something that I've spent a lot of time on my personal development journey. And, when we find that place to get comfortable, I think it's incredibly powerful. So I just want you to know that authenticity is going to be a big part of this. You'll notice that in the edits, when we go back and we touch these things up afterwards, a lot of stuff's going to get left in. You're going to get me just kind of flat out. Sometimes I'm going to say words that I don't even know the meaning for. I'm going to make sentences up that just do not make sense. What else are you in for? Just the worst jokes, for sure. For sure, the worst jokes. And I'm going to be laughing harder at them than anyone. So that is not a personality trait I'm proud of, but it's just a part of oh no, we're just going to start early, I guess. But yeah, you can expect a little bit of that. And a big part of what we're going to be talking about on this podcast is just passion itself and the topic that I'm so passionate about talking about. And you're really going to feel that in here. This isn't just another, business podcast or something. This is really getting to the heart of what we're doing here as human beings and what makes us hungry and motivated and passionate and lights us on fire and all that good stuff, which is just really close to me. And there's going to be a lot of that going on. So with authenticity and the rawness that comes with that, there's going to be some screw ups. There's going to be some swear words every once in a while. So just know that that's going to be coming up. And I got a racy brain. It's always, it's nonstop. So words are just going to pop out of my mouth. I notice this in emails all the time. And me talking to you now is just really talking to myself about what I need to expect and work on moving forward. Sometimes in my emails, I'll be writing an email and all of a sudden I'll just realize that one of the words is completely, it might start with the same letter, but it's just not even in the wheelhouse of the word that I was planning to write. So I don't know what it is, some brain glitches going on there, OCD, big time, ADHD, all that good stuff, but there is power in all that. So I try to keep it tamed, but it comes out in interesting ways. And there's going to be a bit of that on this podcast. So enough about me. Let's talk a little bit about what we're in for. So this podcast is called The Chosen Ones. And a good place to start is to explain to you what a chosen one is. A chosen one is someone who, whether they like it or not, have been put on this planet to do great things. They have something inside of them that pushes them to be more and do more. And I use the term, I like to say, whether they like it or not, because it's not always a blessing having this way of being that I have myself. You're always striving for more. You're always pushing yourself. That sometimes you idolize the person who can just live a normal life, maybe do the family thing, have a job, enjoy their weekends, and really find fulfillment and happiness and passion in that. And that is not the life of a chosen one. A chosen one is just, there's just something inside of them that pushes them to want more. So I am very aware, and I try to make it very clear to not put the term a chosen one ahead of anyone or make them sound like they're better than anyone. They're not. It's just a type of human being that I've come across on the planet. And since I've been traveling this journey as a coach and working in this field, one of the many hats I wear as a coach is you'll learn a little bit about me, which I might even share with you here quickly, just so you do know who I am. What was I talking about? Shoot, I lost my train of thought. I'm pretty good with not doing that, so don't expect that too often. But yeah, I think with being a chosen one, that just having that level of wanting to do more, wanting to be more, being extremely motivated, it's a personality trait. And through coaching, I've really come to learn that there is this type of human being on the planet. I've met a lot of them. Sometimes when I explain to people this scenario or this definition of a chosen one, they can relate on a very deep level of, as cheesy as it might sound on the surface, when I explain that definition, for the people who do know that feeling, and depending on where it is in your body, like in my chest, I do have this physical feeling of like just being pushed. And I love it. It's an incredible feeling. Of course, you have to focus on life balance with that when you're always pushing yourself. But anyways, that is typically the definition of a chosen one, someone who is just pushing themselves to do great things. And it's just that they feel like they have something inside of them that they are here to do. Now, in my practice and my life journey, and I just want to be clear in the sense of there'll be a lot of talk about coaching just from my own personal experience. This isn't a podcast where I'm selling coaching. In fact, coaching isn't my profession in the sense of how I make an income. I do have a few other businesses, which again, I will get into. This is more of a passion project, but I will share my experiences of the people that I work with and what I've learned, and most importantly, through my own personal development journey over the years. And from the coaching aspect of it, I think there's really a character trait in many of us where all chosen ones have this feeling of being here and having a purpose, having this specific purpose, or what is this great thing. However, some of us don't know what that great thing is. And that's really where my journey begins from personal development. And I'm not going to get too much into my whole story here. I just wrote a book. It's also called The Chosen Ones. It's free. If you are listening to this podcast, you are welcome to have a copy of it. You're welcome to reach out to me, mastersoflifesociety.com or thechoseenones.ca, either or. That book is available. I really get into my story there, but essentially the quick version of it is just being lost in my life for many years, jumping into one job and out of the other, traveling most of my life, probably until the age of 30, originally from a small town in Ontario called Grand Bend, represent GBHG, little beach town, grew up in a lake, beautiful home, beautiful upbringing. And, going through high school, didn't travel the most glorious path on that journey, and, moved to Taiwan when I was 19, taught English for a couple of years, studied Mandarin, came back as an iron worker, traveled Canada, building Costco's, went to Australia, New Zealand, did the bartending and the serving and worked as a chef and surfed and all that good stuff. And eventually led myself to where I am today, which is in Vancouver, beautiful BC, Canada, and very happy where I am here. I have a real estate business that I run here. I do coaching. I do youth coaching. I do a lot of youth volunteering as well. I'm involved in activism. I wear a lot of different hats, and just along my journey of discovering my purpose of making an impact, all of these things kind of feel right to me. And that's something that I do talk to a lot of people about, is this idea of having a purpose and a specific purpose, and having to niche down continuously. That's not necessarily the case. For me, I kind of pursue my passion and my purpose in many ways of helping people and working with people and trying to make the world a better place. And I do that through activism and through coaching and through volunteering with youth, and by walking down the street and smiling at someone, all of these things. So over the course of my journey towards kind of the later years, the more recent, I'm 35 now, and it was the age of 33, I've decided to make some big shifts in my life. I set some financial goals for myself, and when I was 33, this is going back to actually 2018. So whatever the years are now that I'm kind of just putting it all out there, I'm just kind of spitballing here with you guys. I guess I am kind of telling you my story here, but and I don't really know where I'm going with this. It's just kind of, this is a great introduction of who I am and what you're in for, because there's going to be quite a bit of this going on. Luckily, there's usually going to be someone else to kind of keep me on track, even though I'm going to be the one doing the interviewing. But yeah, so 2018, set some very large financial goals for myself. And I had an interesting realization is I achieved the goals, but rather than being ecstatic and feeling this sense of joy, it was the total opposite. I had actually hit rock bottom in my life. I was completely miserable. Uh, my financial tank was full, but emotionally and physically and mentally and spiritually, I was just exhausted. And I really felt the toll. And it was a big awakening for me in the sense of, how did I end up on this path of it, chasing money, chasing success, getting there to an extent, to a level that I was proud of for myself, to have this feeling of realizing that none of that was ever important to me. Here I've been 33 years of my life falling out of one job, falling into another, and just wondering, how did I get here? I don't care about money. Money's never been important to me. Of course, it's important and we need it to survive. And I totally appreciate that, but it's never been something that I've cared about. If I have it, it's shared. I just need enough. I don't need a lot of nice things. I still drive a Toyota Camry, have a, multiple six figure years for the last 10 years, but there's just certain things that are not important to me. And I just ended up in this place of really, it was such an incredible awakening. And I talk about 3 realizations in the book that I wrote that I had over the course of my life. And why not? I'll quickly share them here since we're just kind of going at it. But first one was working in a restaurant in Byron Bay, Australia, where it was the worst job I'd ever had. I was washing dishes, cleaning toilets, and the boss was just an absolute nightmare. And I was actually the happiest I'd ever been in my life for a long time, because as soon as I checked out from work, I grabbed my surfboard and I went surfing with my friends, and it was, surfing the best waves in the world. And that was the first indicator I ever had that my job is not a direct influence on my happiness. That was the first time that I had realized that. It was a very important realization, but being the first one, I didn't think much of it. Fast forwarding a few years, getting into ironworking, and I started making very good money. But I wasn't loving the lifestyle. I traveled a lot. The lifestyle, it wasn't a very pretty lifestyle. It was hard work. I was battling Mother Nature, but still, that was probably the first time I started making 6 figures a year. And that was another eye opener where I was making incredible money, but I wasn't happy. So it was another realization that I had in my life where money does not equal happiness. Then I get into real estate. From that ironworking job, I kind of, process of elimination, I said, okay, I like the money, but I don't like the lifestyle. So I said, you know what, I'm going to get into real estate. I can work my own hours. I can be in one place. I can live in Vancouver. I love Vancouver. And I'm a motivated human being, so I can build this empire. And, got into that for 10 years, did very well, and got to a point where I was very successful up to 2017. And that's when that happened, where I mentioned about having a very successful year and just kind of hitting a wall. And that was the third realization of accomplishing these big goals and just saying, what am I doing? I am miserable. What is missing in my life? And that is when, I feel like I've lived 30 years in the last, it must be at least 3 years now since I've started that personal development journey. I stopped drinking. In the world of real estate, drinking is it's a social business. So it wasn't necessarily a huge issue, but a thing of, you go out for dinner and drinks 4 or 5 nights a week. And as normal as it might seem in that world, it wasn't very normal. And there wasn't a lot of happiness with that and whatever else comes with that whole lifestyle. And I just shifted everything. I got into personal development, of course, as we all do, started with Tony Robbins. And I just traveled that path and eventually led me to where I am today, which is just living a life that I absolutely love. For the first time, I still get emotional sometimes when I talk about that, because it sounds funny when you say it, but to have lived so many years of your life where really you never really loved it. I mean, it's hard when you're going through it because you don't really see it, but when you look back, um, I just feel like a lot of times we don't really know how much how much better it could be. And when I found that in recent years, probably in the last 2 years, it's a very incredible feeling. And that has really led me on the journey I'm on to promote that and to help other people to find that for themselves, whatever that looks like. And through this journey, when I had this realization back in 2017, I should really check. It was the end of 2017. 2017 was the year that I had the goal. And so it was very early, like, first week of 2018, I'd accomplished this goal and I just hit rock bottom and just was totally broken. And it was in this time where some very important questions started coming up for me, in the sense of, how did I get here? Why have I been chasing money? Why have I been chasing success all this time? And just really led to the most important questions I'd ever asked myself. What am I doing here? What is this all about? Maybe it's partially midlife crisis, but it was just such an awakening at the same time. And through that, I led myself on a journey of answering all of these questions, to go back in time and travel the path of how it is that so many of us end up lost. And since coaching now for a few years, mainly on purpose and potential and performance, life coaching, I've in the last 3 years, it has been intense. I've become licensed NLP practitioner under Dr. Richard Bandler, who's the co-creator of NLP. I trained with him in Orlando. Certified CBT practitioner, certified positive psychology practitioner, certified life coach, even certified personal trainer. I even traveled that path just to get the certification, to learn about that side of it, because I love exercising. Reading hundreds and hundreds of books, taking online courses, and just podcasts. I have a very addictive personality, which is one of the reasons I had to turn off certain lifestyles. But when I put that into something positive that helps me grow, it totally changed my life. And when I put that into personal development, I was relentless. And I just very quickly got myself to a place of where I am today, and just a level of happiness that I've never had before. And that goes from battling with things throughout my life, such as depression, which comes a lot of times with the lifestyle that I was living, where now what I've recently learned, which is very interesting, is my default mode does not serve me very well, in the sense of, if I sleep when I want, if I go to bed when I want, if I eat what I want, if I just let myself just do what I think I want, it's not healthy for me. And I don't know if it's Jim Rohn or Tony Robbins has a great a great quote about how we have to tend to our gardens, meaning our brains and our minds, where these negative thoughts and patterns pop up like weeds. And we have to be very aggressive with our maintenance plan of tending to our garden. And I've really learned that. So in terms of healthy lifestyles, my daily habits and rituals: up at 5 a.m., out the door for a walk, affirmations, gratitude practice, meditation, exercising. These are all very common things that people know about, but definitely the things that I owe to living a happy life. And most importantly, finding my purpose and finding that great thing of being a chosen one and what it is that I'm here to do. And from that has just been so incredible. And in the book, I talk a lot about that, the whole process, how I went back in time, some very interesting realizations of, by the way, I'm just going to chime in here. I'm looking out my window. I'm pretty high up, but I do live on a busier road, Kingsway, if you're from Vancouver. It's a main artery for ambulances. So I don't know, this new mic's pretty good, but you may hear that, and I'll listen on the playback. But as you know, this is real and it's authentic, and it's pretty much have transformed my home into a a podcast studio. But I only work anyways, so it's always just been an office. So it's pretty much similar. Um, anyways, sorry, where was I? Yeah, most of them are the stories in the book about how going back in the past and how it is we end up on this path that we end up taking. And I go through it all about how so many of us end up lost. And what I realized, we all feel like it's just us, but it's not. It's the way that the whole system's designed. Not from a conspiracy theorist perspective, but it's all in the book. I don't want to, it's a very quick read. I don't want to use all this time to explain that. But if you are going to join me on this journey I'm about to embark on with this podcast, I do recommend checking it out. It's a great way to get to know myself a little bit better. And there's a ton of positive information to learn about the direction we're going to be going with this podcast with the chosen ones that I think you could find very useful, very helpful. And yeah, and essentially what I had come to the conclusion of is that we are facing a global epidemic of unhappiness. And of course, we're now in a pandemic, and I've been researching this purpose topic and chosen ones for years. This has been the center of my work, and anything to do with discovering purpose, I've researched it, and I've come up with my own methods of how to help people to do what took me so long to do, to hopefully save them those years. But just realizing that since starting my practice and working with so many people, how many people, first of all, could relate to my story that were feeling the same way as I was once feeling, and just how many people there are that just are not really satisfied. And all that I truly want is to help people to feel the way that I feel now, because I know what it feels like to be lost. I know what it feels like I know what it feels like to have that motivation and that hunger and that thing inside of you that burns, but not having the direction. And if you're that type of person, it's so important for you to figure that out, because you are the people that will change the world, because it's in that passion and that motivation and that hunger that people are going to do whatever it takes. And that's really been my goal of working with the select few who do consider themselves chosen ones, but don't know what that great thing is that they're here to do, and just to help them to figure that out with the systems that I've created, and going through the process of figuring that out and helping them to see their potential and reach it. There's something so powerful about having someone who truly believes in you on your side, which is who I am. I truly believe, even traveling a spiritual path for many months last year to a devastating point where I had to shift, because I got to a point where, as you do with spirituality, of, what's the point of even being here? It's for anyone who's traveled that, it is you think you go on this journey for self-awakening and awareness, but it is devastating and it's brutalizing, and it was such an eye-opener. But it was a journey that I needed to go down to really see, and studied a ton of Ram Dass and Buddhism and Taoism and all of these different anything. I'm so excited to talk to so many people who I'm going to have on this podcast. Just there's so many interesting topics in this world. But essentially, yeah, that's so for the chosen ones, that's the concept. Now, the point of the podcast for now to start is interviewing other people and meeting other people who are making an impact and living a life they love and are just really good at what they do. People who are living with purpose, people who have discovered their purpose, who are living with passion and have just found that great thing in their life. And the goal is to inspire others and to motivate others and educate others to listen to these stories of, because all of these people I've been speaking with, even the first guest who I have coming on here starting tomorrow, where they've come from a lot of times. Sometimes what I've learned, and the whole reason for this podcast, is it's so often that we hear the success story from someone. And I find it hard to relate to that person. And, I'm not saying that they haven't been through hard times. Most people who are successful have. It's kind of it's those things in the earlier days of our lives that turn us into this thing. But we don't hear a lot about that. And so my goal for this podcast is to dive into the earlier chapters of the success story, to really learn about the human being, not where they are today and what they're currently doing, but who they were and the environment that created them and what turned them into, I do believe we all are already this person. I think one of the good lessons I learned with personal development in the early days, as I mentioned, with all the certifications and licenses and all that stuff, what I was originally trying to do is building things and adding things on, adding another few letters to my name. And from the spiritual process of it and the later, within the last year of really going deeper with everything, you realize that it's not about adding on, and personal development is really about stripping away. It's about getting back to who we are as human beings on the deepest level, who we were when we came into this world, and removing all of the social conditioning that we've been subject to over our lives, from parents, from teachers, from schools, from friends, from society, anywhere. Over our course of our lives, there's so much external influence that shapes us, that personal development is really just getting back to our authentic selves. It's a big part of my practice is empowering people, and with the idea that everything we need is already inside of us. And yeah, it's sorry, I was kind of a little offside with that personal development comment, which of course is going to throw me back off to what I was originally talking about. But with my guests. So essentially just wanting to learn the earlier chapters of their story to see, okay, this is just someone who went through this hard time. It's very relatable. It's something that many people have dealt with, and see how they transform it and see how they figure it out now that they know what their purpose is and what they're passionate about, and they're living this life. How did they get there? I want to close the gap to that human being to begin with and where they are today, to learn how we can connect those dots ourselves. And there's a lot of different stories. There's different types of people that are going to be coming on here. All are just making an incredible impact on the planet and just doing great things, and they're passionate and they love what they do and they love their life. And there's so many lessons to be learned in this. And I'm just kind of talking honestly out loud here with no plan, which I'm sure you can realize, but I'm thinking to myself as I'm saying this, that these are the most successful people in the world that we want to be learning about, because the definition of success is subjective and it means something different to every person. And it means to figure out a way to live a happy and fulfilling life. That to me is a definition of success. It's not money. If money is what does that for you, then fantastic. But for anyone who I coach, who comes to me and says, I want to make $1 million, my first question is, what are you going to do with the money? And do you need to, is it, I want to make $1 million so I can spend more time with my family? Well, what if you quit working overtime right now and you, so it's all about what it is that we want to do with that money. And at the end of the day, we're all chasing a feeling. I think you'll hear me talk about a lot. There's so many people who I owe credit to for me being where I am today. Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, Ed Milet, I'm just looking up at my bookshelf here. Joe Dispenza, James Clear, the Atomic Habits book, The Ripple Effect. Ram Dass had a huge impact. Jim Rohn, Joseph Murphy, Richard Bandler. There's so many people. And I bring this up quickly because I always think of incredible quotes and ideas and concepts that I've learned along the way, but just being so deep in studying, I don't even know sometimes where things come out. They're just there. So I will always try to quote, to say who and give credit where due, but I just want to put that disclaimer out there that, those are the big people. Brooke Castillo, incredible coach. Sean Stevenson, great podcasts. And I'm hating it right now because I know there's so many great ones that I'm just that I'm forgetting. But you'll hear me talk about them because I do owe. When you go through a incredible shift in your life, and when you hit a place like rock bottom and you rebuild from the start, it's a very lonely process. And what I learned is, people who you may relate to at one point, you no longer relate to. And on top of that, you just have to go through this process alone. It was part of the journey, and you need to, gain self-awareness and spend time with yourself. And through that process, my friends for a few years were these people that I'm giving credit to. I was living with them and their books and their podcasts, and they were the ones who helped me to change my life, and a good support group around me, but a lot of credit to them as well. And yeah, so about where were we? Oh, I'm surprised I remember where I'm going back to. So talking about the idea of success and how it's subjective, and how it really does come down to us figuring out what that means to us. And these people that I'm going to be interviewing, they're making an impact and they're living a life they love. And to me, that is the definition of success. So not necessarily the people making $1 million. Some of them are doing fantastic financially. Some of them are just serving a higher purpose, but they all share the same common denominator of that. They love what they do and they're happy doing it. And that really, to me, is the secret to life and the secret to fulfillment. So we're going to be meeting the people who I think have it figured out, and not only meeting with them to learn about them, but to figure out how they got to this place. And I think there aren't a lot of people who are having this conversation on this level of, let's take it back from the start. And you're going to hear me a lot of times in these conversations of wanting to go back in time with these people and start from the beginning and learn about their childhood and what drove them and what motivated them. And when did that shift happen? When was the defining moment that they changed paths and decided to follow their dreams? And what challenges did they face? And just these incredible questions that we're going to get answers to, and they're all going to be different with every person. And I'm just really excited to embark on this journey with all of you. And I hope there's a way that I figure out at some point that there's people out there listening. That's for anyone who follows me through my social media and my blogs and my email lists. You know how important it is to me to have that connection. And this is kind of a new venture for me because I don't see anyone. Maybe I can check, maybe there's a way to check the listeners on a podcast, but I really do hope we find a way to connect so that I can get feedback from all of you, to learn from all of you. I'm a learner. One of my favorite quotes, again, is about how when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I've been ignorant for many years of my life, and that has been such a powerful quote to have not just learned, but to have implemented in my life. And I can learn from anyone. And this is all about us coming together and teaching each other. So I really hope I have an opportunity to learn from everyone who's listening to this as well, and building connections. For me, in my personal development journey, just what I've learned, and I've said this for years, but you have your handful of best friends growing up, but a lot of times, and I shout out to Gigs, Blue, Austin, the old crew, Freddie, Dan, if you're listening, you're still the homies, but it's it's funny how when you travel a new path and when you change directions in your life, there's people who you may have more in common with that you met 10 minutes ago than people you've known for 30 years because you grew up in the same town. And that's been such an incredible lesson for me, even over the years of traveling, when I'm in this random town in Nicaragua, or where Fremantle, Australia, and you connect with these other people, and sometimes Canadian, sometimes Aussie, wherever they're from, and you just connect with these people on a level of just being on the same path at the same time is so powerful. And I really think that about the people who may be listening to this, that you are in a place in your life where this is important to you as it is to me. And there's a connection there. And I do this on social media all the time. If there's a conversation, I'm the guy who will just add the friend. And 9 times out of 10, they say, I don't follow strangers. Can you not friend me? Or, the one that DMs and says, hey, I just want to connect with you because I think we're on a similar path and I would like to meet like-minded people. But unfortunately, with the way social media is these days, everyone just thinks that you're pitching them something. So that doesn't work so well. But I am that guy. And I do really value these connections with people who are on a similar path to me. And I just want to put that out there. There's never hesitation with connecting in that sense. And I really do look forward to meeting other people in that sense that are on this journey with me. And I'm going to wrap it up here. That went way longer than I was expecting it to, but I do feel very comfortable. And it's funny because originally when I first started, already I'm a pro 40 minutes in, but I kind of thought it's going to be awkward, but it's going to be awkward. One of my concerns was I don't feel like I'm talking to anyone. I'm talking into this microphone. I know it's going to go up on all these platforms, but I don't feel, of course, with the guests, but in terms of reaching the people who I'm wanting to reach. But there's some weird thing happening right now where it feels like the people who are supposed to be getting this message are getting it, which I know because I'm not streaming this live. I know that that's impossible because I'm talking to myself, unless the neighbor from the unit beside me who's trying to eat dinner right now is probably listening in. Hopefully they're getting tips instead of sending a letter under my door. But there is some weird feeling that I'm having right now where the people who are going to connect with this are hearing. So that's actually a pretty interesting feeling for me to have on the first day, which I think is a necessary feeling if compared to just feeling like I'm not really talking to anyone. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to leave it with this, just in the sense of talking about purpose in the book. And this whole podcast isn't about purpose. It's not. Purpose is used in so many ways that sometimes when you say, discover your purpose, or I've done tallies and I do youth programs where I help students, grade 7s here in Vancouver. I help them to figure out what they want to do or help them with their transition into high school. I create coaching programs where I work with youth on the same topic of figuring out what they want to do after school, which is where I really got stuck, that I talk about in my book. And over those times, I do I always do questionnaires. I'm always trying to learn from people and making sure that I'm on the right track. And through those questionnaires, I've always learned so much from people. And I've always asked the question a lot, do you even think that we have a purpose? And I talk about this in the book, and some people do and some people don't. But it's the word itself. when you talk to people in a sense of, are you here for something? Do you feel like you've been put here for a reason? Whether there's a creator, whether there isn't, there's no religion involved with where I go. Everyone's feel free to believe in what they want to believe in. I think there's something. I feel like I've been put here with something. I think the fact that we have a 1 in 300 trillion chance of being put on this planet and being born, and that we're all unique. I don't believe the universe is so, it just doesn't waste energy. Everything has a purpose, and the universe is so well designed, whether someone designed it or what. We have to agree that it's just been so well designed. When you look at like the mathematical equations of the universe and this from the science side of it, it's just incredible. And everything has a purpose. We learned this when bees nearly go extinct, how incredibly important they are in the food chain, that we have to think of being at the top of our food chain, that we are here for a purpose, whatever that is. I believe it's our job to figure out what that is. But I do understand that talking about purpose specifically, some people think of it differently. So I don't use that term all the time. But I do want to leave on this note of just talking about purpose, because that is a big part of the book, even though we won't be delving into that so deep on this podcast. That I've kind of come to the conclusion in my own life and research of what purpose is and kind of what my definition of purpose is. And I look at it in the sense of, for a long time, it was doing what you're good at and something that you enjoy doing. So in a sense, I look at it as your gifts plus enjoyment. So something that you're good at, we're all here, we're all unique, we all have unique gifts. Figuring out what it is that we're good at and what we enjoy doing. Now, most importantly, I think it is what we enjoy doing, because we can learn skills and we can learn our gifts as well. In the later years, however, there was another piece to that equation, which I found to be extremely important. And that is doing these things in a way that makes the world a better place, whether that means helping people, whatever that looks like to the individual. But it's gifts plus enjoyment in brackets, because that's how those equations kind of work in math, plus contribution. So doing these things in a way that serves others. And that was really the big lesson for me when I feel like I discovered what the secret to happiness and fulfillment is. I truly do believe it's giving back and helping others. The happiest I've ever been is when I'm serving other people. And when we kind of connect these dots, it's a very incredible process. It's not as simple as just being able to figure out what those three things are and doing them. In fact, when I go through the process of helping someone to figure out what it is that they want to do, it's actually the reverse effect, where it's this long, strenuous, exciting process of figuring it out. And once it's figured out, we are able to plug it in. It's almost like to fact checked, to ensure, or like, I forget what it's called now, but like back checking our answers, where we then plug it into this equation. And if it fits, we know that we've done it correctly. And the reason I'm talking about all this is because with a lot of the people that I'm going to be interviewing, at some point, it's one thing to be doing what you want to be doing and being an entrepreneur and starting a business and doing what you enjoy. But the real secret that I find that so many people get to at a point in their lives is the contribution aspect of doing it to help others and to make the world a better place. And that's a big part of the that's a big requirement of the people who are going to be coming on here. And that's, you'll probably learn when you hear it from these people, and I'm really going to get it out of them to feel that passion. And I'm going to try to get a touch of that, because you can't hide that. And is there anything better than seeing someone who's passionate about something, no matter what that thing is? you go in the grocery store and someone enjoys their job, it's so refreshing to me to see someone living life, just living life. We've all come, I'm going to say something now, which should have been probably the priority of the show for the, for the last 50 minutes, but it's, we've comes, the world now is such a place, and we're in such a time where we just go through the motions. We get up, we go to work, we turn on the TV, have a few drinks, finish the work week, go out on the weekend, do whatever we want, have some fun, back to Monday, do it all over again. We've just lost in so many cases that passion for life. And we have such a rare, incredible opportunity here to just to take advantage of and just love our lives. And I just really do believe that. And I just want to inspire others to find that life for them and find that passion. And a good way to do that, I think, is going to be to learn from others for how they did it, and just learn how they are feeling and how they are with their life and why it was important that they made this shift. And so many of us, including myself, are going to be able to learn so much from these type of people and implement the tips. Don't worry, we're going to be getting into, I'll get some life hacks for us and some quick tips and all that good stuff for how we can really implement these things. But I just think that a lot of these people have really figured it out in the sense of giving back, helping others, enjoying life to an incredible level. And I just want to share that with people, and eventually be getting to a point where I will bring on guests who I will be coaching, who are also chosen ones, but do not know yet what that great thing is that they want to be doing. So we're going to start off by bringing these people on who do, and that'll be ongoing. And then moving forward, I will also be inviting some people on that I work with who do not know, and going through that process and sharing that process as well. And there's all kinds of different shows. As you'll learn about me, my brain moves. It's a matter of me sticking to the ideas, and I have a few good ones of, I guess I shouldn't talk about them, but other ideas for episodes as well. So it's not just going to be the same thing every show. We're all over the place. It's going to be exciting. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm usually I'm just looking at myself. I totally forgot I was even recording this. I don't know if I'll put this up, but I got my hat on. I'm pretty comfortable looking here. Got my hat on sideways. Anyways, we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm typically a very energetic person. You're going to see this, especially when I'm talking to someone about the topics we're going to be exploring. So I am quite motivated about them. I'm quite passionate. I do get a bit antsy, a bit up, and let's do it. Let's do it. But right now I'm just in chill mode and just wanted to have that nice conversation. I'm kind of proud of myself that I got out as much as I wanted to. I had no plan of spitting that much talk when I got on here. It was just going to be a quick 10-minute, but here we are about an hour in. But I do think that's a good feel for what to expect, and I'm really looking forward to it. I hope I get to connect with some of you who are listening. Like I said, this thing is long term. We got some swag coming out, some freebie swag for y'all, for the early listeners. Disclaimer, while supplies last, I'm getting that stuff made up. We got the website coming up this week. Probably by the time you hear this, it's up. It's brand new, mastersoflifesociety.com. That's my coaching company umbrella that everything's under. thechoseenones.ca. You can find that on that same website. The book is there. If you want a copy of the book, it's a free for you. Link to the podcast will be there. I'll definitely have a comment section. You can sign up to the email list, which is free life hacks. It's a free weekly gift where I'm just giving tons of tangible takeaway tips to implement into our lives. That's every week. That email list, it crushes it. People love the feedback's incredible. It's all free. It's pretty much a free coach once a week. What else is on there? My activism's on there. It's a whole nother world, which we'll get into. Just a passion project of mine. and youth coaching's on there. Yeah, it's really kind of the home base of what I'm all about, just as a human being. And yeah, there's a lot of incredible stuff coming up down the pipe. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be a great summer. I really look forward to meeting more people. I'm going to leave it at this. I hope you all have enjoyed. It's only going to get better. I was a little nervous on this first one, but you guys stuck around and had a listen. So that's it. You can subscribe to this podcast. I don't even know what to say here because I'm so new. You can subscribe. What do they say on those ones that I watch? Click, like, share, subscribe to all podcast platforms. You can find this podcast also on YouTube at that's a good one. YouTube Masters of Life Society is my channel. You can find me on social media at Joseph Richard Powell. That's my name. Don't wear it out. Facebook and Instagram mainly. I had a huge LinkedIn profile. For some reason, I binned it a while ago, which is, of course, how I'm supposed to be reaching out to most of my guests. But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I'm a big fan of email. Just some direct connect. If you're in the Vancouver area, we run some masterminds around here and all that good stuff. And that's it, y'all. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed this introduction. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be doing an introduction. I definitely don't recommend watching the video. I should probably not post it just so people watch the first one. They're like, what the hell is this guy up to? And yeah, with that said, we got some great guests lined up, and I'm really excited for this journey together. From purpose to impact. Take care, y'all. Peace.